Hello, it's Jimmy. Today I want to talk about calculating risks and taking action and how that helped me to decide that it was time to take an early retirement. A good thought exercise that I did in the safety of still being employed was thinking about not being employed and running different scenarios and weighing the risks involved with leaving full-time employment. It has the benefit of being able to test the theories and think through them, but being able to back out of the experiment, at least as a thought experiment. Nothing is worse than realizing your flying machine doesn't work right after you get launched off the back of the aircraft carrier. So running the risk calculations while I was still employed was a rather safe place to run that and think about it. One of the practical considerations that I had was what to do about health insurance, not health care. I have done a video on that in the past. Those are not the same things, but health insurance is definitely something I think everybody needs to have in whatever form makes sense to them. And that was something that I did have to run some calculations on, not only as far as cost, but different varieties and what that really meant for me. I had to make sure that I had some productive things to do with my time, not working in an office for most of the waking hours in a week. I needed to fill that time, but do it productively, not just staying busy. I don't think that's a very healthy thing to do, to just cram a bunch of junk into your time during the week, but actually being productive and giving a positive contribution, maybe using your skills and talents to help others, is probably a good thing to do, not just sit around and maybe play video games, although it's a fun recreational activity. I think actually getting out and doing some things around your community is probably going to be more beneficial. And so those are the things I needed to think about, what I was going to do with my time that I was going to get back. One of the things that I didn't really need to put a whole lot of consideration into was income. I had enough to keep rolling without an income. Although money is nice to have, it can get you some nice things. You cannot buy peace or time with money, no matter the amount. I had a pretty sweet deal for a fairly long time, but even sweet things can turn sour when you least expect it. So doing the thought experiments and risk calculations was a good thing to do, even if I had decided to stay working. Once I had all the facts gathered from my risk analysis, it was time to take action. Even if I had decided to stay working, that would have been an action because I would have decided to do it. If I had just continued to work but hadn't really put any thought into it, I don't think that would be much of an action. It would not have been calculating the risks. But leaving a job without doing the risk calculations would have been just as bad. I think these are two things that need to go hand in hand: calculating the risks, then taking an action, even if that action is staying. Well, as long as it's an intentional choice, it's still valid. Nowhere in my risk calculations was I able to completely eliminate any avenue where there was no risk. There's risk no matter what you do. Even if I had stayed, I saw plenty of pitfalls and places that would have been risky to have stayed. So it was decided it was time to go. One of the major factors that helped me was that I had no debt. I had no car loans, no student loans, and I didn't even have a mortgage. And that was huge, to not have any payments dragging me down. Had I not been completely debt-free at the time, I don't think I would have even entertained the idea of not working full-time. At least not in the traditional sense of working as we seem to have My advice is to eliminate all the debt in your life. You will start seeing some possibilities that were unimaginable beforehand. Well, that's all I've got to say about that. Calculating risk and taking action, but it certainly was something that helped me lead to the decision to retire early. And even if that's not your goal, I still think it's a very good process to do throughout life to calculate the risks and rewards of doing what you're doing. And once you have put all the data together, go ahead and make a decision. Don't waste your time just daydreaming about stuff. Get to the point where you want to gather the info and actually do something with it. Sometimes it can be rather life-changing. Or if it's going to keep you on a path that you're on and comfortable with, at least you've made some comparisons and you realize what you're getting into instead of just rolling down the road like a jelly donut. I don't think I've ever seen a jelly donut roll down the road, but I don't know. Picture what you want there. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope you're having a great day.